Hey, welcome to another Hat Stack Chat, and we're chatting all about Sonic. And I have with me here NineteeN9D, fellow YouTuber. Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How are you doing, Hat Stack?
Doing pretty well, thanks. So yeah, Sonic, there's a lot we can talk about there.
Oh, yeah.
We're both pretty big Sonic fans, in case you didn't know that going into this video.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, well, let's start off with the basics, how we got into Sonic. How do you get into Sonic?
All right, so if I remember correctly, it was Christmas of 1994, because I know, we all know that Sonic came out in 91, but for me, my first experience was Christmas of 94, because that was the year I got a Sega Genesis and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So that was the game that I started with, not the first one. But prior to even getting that game, I don't even think I was that familiar with Sonic at all, but I guess my parents thought that I would like it, and they guessed absolutely correctly, because just from the very first stage, I was just blown away by the game. I love the color blue. I loved his design. I thought Tails was really great. The game was just so much fun. So, yeah, Sonic 2 was Christmas Day of 94 was how I got into the series.
Nice. And yeah, Sonic 2 was my first as well. I went over a friend's house after school. This was, I want to say late 93 or early 93. Early 93. So Sonic 2 was pretty new. And he had just gotten the Genesis with Sonic 2 and stuff. And man, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, the bright colors and characters. And yeah, the funny thing is, my first time playing Sonic, I didn't play as Sonic because we were little kids. So he's like, I give you Sonic, you play as Tails. But even just playing as Tails, I was so enamored.
Yeah.
And then I had even more fun when he let me play Sonic later on. And then from then on, it was like I had to get a Genesis, and my parents agreed to get me one if I got to do all these extra chores. There was a checklist of all the stuff over the next few months, and I did everything, and I finally got it with Sonic 2. And then I also got Sonic Spinball, just because of the box art. He's running
Sonic Spinball.
I thought it looked so cool. He's running along the lava, and Robotnik just has that angry face, shaking his fist. Sonic's just smirking haha. I thought that box looked so cool. I had to have that game.
It is. No, yeah, that's a really cool box art. That Sonic Spinball, I have such a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Game.
Yeah,
I really do. Because every now and then, even still today, I'm like, you know what? I know how I feel about this, but I just got to pop it on. I got to do some pinball. Why not? I do love the music. That's one of the things about that game that always brings me back to it.
Thank you. Finally, someone else likes the music.
Yes, I love the music in that game, but I've only, out of all the times I've played that game, I've only beaten it once. That's it.
You know what? I've never actually beaten it without a Game Genie or codes or anything, so that you've already beat me.
Listen, I'm not judging, because all the times I played it, there were many times where I'm like, can I just cheat through this? Because this game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, because getting through the showdown, first of all, love that theme. Think it's a great song for a final stage, final boss type of thing. But yeah, I feel like it took me about 15 minutes just to get through that stage, because yes, I did get all the way to the top. I was fighting Robotnik, and yep, I screwed up, fell all the way out of the ship, and had to go all the way back up again.
That last boss.
Oh my god, but trust and believe, after I beat it, I felt like I overcame a sickness or something. I felt like I was unstoppable. And then I was like, I don't know if I'll ever play this again, and I did anyway.
No, beating that game is impressive, so I'm impressed.
Yes.
Well,
thank you.
Listen, yeah, people online always say oh, the Sonic Spinball music is so terrible, and link to the Options song every time, and it's just there's more than that weird Options music.
That Options music, man, it's terrible, but it's great at the same time. It's just so loud. It is so loud. It's so in your face. But I guess the reason why I like it is because for me, that song helps encapsulate the feeling of that game.
Yeah,
where it's just this is a fun, hardcore game, and it's gonna frustrate the hell out of you. Get ready. That's what that song gives off to me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm here for it, because you're setting the stage quite accurately, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. right, let's move on to favorite Sonic games. What are your favorite Sonic games?
You want to go first, or want
sure.
me to? Okay.
Yeah, I am definitely more classic lean. So my favorite all time, I've said this on my channel millions of times now, Sonic 3 Knuckles. That's like my perfect Sonic game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love everything about it. And then, yeah, right behind that actually would probably be Sonic Mania. Because, oh man, that game was like everything I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see, Sonic 2 would be right behind that. So yeah, my top 3 are all classics. And
Okay.
And then yeah, after that, it would be like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Generation. So I like a lot of the modern stuff. If you can even call Sonic Adventure modern, but you know, 3D.
Yeah. It's like the start of the modern era, but pretty much ever since Generations, how they, you know, classify classic, Dreamcast, modern, I just always consider that the Dreamcast era because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's funny because it's almost the same thing because Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my all-time favorite. Nobody can tell me otherwise. I'll list favorites from the era. So yeah, classic-wise, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is number 1. Behind that, I'm trying to think. Honestly, behind that one, this is probably going to sound weird, but my other favorite classic Sonic game is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Okay.
Yup. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love me some Sonic too. I do. But the thing, like Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, that game, I definitely got it after, I think I got it sometime after I started watching the cartoon. Yes. Yeah, I was watching The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon first. Came across that game somehow. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw Dr. Robotnik on the cover scratching Grounder and Coconuts. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's related to the cartoon, so I need it. And started playing it. And even before that, because I did grow up playing Tetris. That was one of my first games I ever played. So the whole puzzle genre I was already kind of familiar with. But the Puyo Puyo style of play, granted, I didn't know that it was based on Puyo at the time, but it caught my eye. Naturally, I was terrible at it at first, but again, it did something to me. I loved it. And since then, like still to this day, I play the more modern Puyo games, but every now and then I just have to put on Mean Bean Machine. So yeah, classic era wise, like I said, 3 and Knuckles is 1, Mean Bean Machine right behind that. Dreamcast era, definitely Sonic Adventure 2, hands down. That's real. I guess that'll be number 1, and then I'll just put Adventure behind that because I didn't own a Dreamcast back in the day, but obviously when Adventure 2 Battle came out on GameCube, that was how I first did that or played that, and then I played Adventure DX Director's Cut, and I know about Sonic Shuffle, but I never played it, so I'll just leave that out of the equation. That's what I've heard and even seen from videos. I'm like, okay, I didn't miss anything with this. And modern era wise, I'd have to go with Sonic Colors.
Okay, cool.
As my favorite modern wise. And then behind that, Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah, Frontiers. Oh man, lots I could say about that. Mostly good.
Shall we get into that next?
First of all, definitely respect the Mean Bean Machine as someone who's like gotten into Puyo Puyo quite a bit over the years. Yeah, and then Sonic Colors actually is really good. I don't think I've talked about that much, but I really liked it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the use of the Wisps in future games have kind of been questionable, but in Sonic Colors, I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree, because I think, granted, I did get into Sonic Colors a little late, because the year when it originally came out, excuse me, I did skip out on it, because we all know that around that time, like the mid-2000s was a very rough period for our hedgehog and friends.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, I don't know. Like, I love you, Sonic, but I don't know. So I left it alone for a while. But then Generations came out, played that, and obviously got experience from the Planet Wisp stage and that. And then over time, I was like, okay, you know what? If I happen to come across at a GameStop or wherever, I'll get it. And that's what happened. Picked it up for Wii, and I was like, I cannot believe I skipped out on this because I'm having a great time with this game. But I agree with you. The Wisps, because they were made for that game, I definitely feel like they were best utilized in that. Whereas when they came back in Sonic Lost World, like, I didn't mind it, but it kind of, for me, it was just like, why are they here?
Yeah. Oh, I hated the Wisps in Lost World, especially 3DS. They turned that into like the levels revolve around the Wisps, and I have things I could say about that. But
well, you said you had it for the DS, Lost World?
I had both.
Oh, okay.
I liked the Wisps less on 3DS than Wii U, but I disliked them in both games.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I only played the Wii U version. I didn't have the 3DS one.
I would say the 3DS version is much worse. Like, that, I would just straight up call a bad game. Wii U was like, I wouldn't call Lost World Wii U a good game, but it wasn't terrible. It had its moments.
Mm-hmm.
It was
yeah,
like,
I didn't... Oh, finish what you were saying.
Oh, that was pretty much it. I was just like, eh.
Okay. Yeah, for me with Lost World, I didn't hate it. I didn't necessarily love it either. Like, because I know there are definitely some people out there that acted like it was the worst thing. And I know one of the major complaints about that game was that he was slower. For me, though, especially with how that game was designed, like with the level design, to me, it made sense. Because with how, I mean, I don't even know if this has been confirmed or not. I mean, most of us know about how Sonic Extreme was supposed to be a thing.
Yeah.
And that it's definitely been rumored that elements of that game turned into Lost World. I still don't know if that's fully confirmed, but again, it seems that way. Anyway, because of how the level design is and a lot of the layouts, I honestly feel like the way they made him control and how you can toggle how he runs faster or not at will, I do think that was a smart idea, because if that wasn't a thing, I feel like it would have been much more frustrating to play if we weren't able to do that. So, like I said, for me, that part of it, I was okay with. But as a whole, I mean, I did 100% it somehow. I didn't think I was going to. But yeah, like again, and this is a general thing with Sonic, the music, yes, great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because the whole, what is it? What is that level? Desert Ruins Act 2. I love that song.
Was that the Honeycomb Highway?
Stage. What's up?
Was that the Honeycomb Highway one?
Yes.
Yes, that was my favorite
Highway.
song. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I always love going through that stage, because I mean, outside of the song, I do find that stage fun to go through.
Yeah, that's my favorite level from the game. Like, yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to Sonic Lost World, I agree with you. I think the slower controls do work for that game, and there are parts of that game that I really like, but there are parts that I really don't like. They threw so much at the wall to see what's stuck. Like, suddenly you're in a snowball, and you have to like control yourself inside a giant snowball and not fall off. I hated that level.
Yeah, that was a little annoying. And then the parkour system, as cool as it could have been, like, it's one of those ideas where it sounded great on paper, but wasn't executed the best way, because there were a lot of times where, I mean, there's various moments where you have to use it, you know, like, for example, to get a red star ring. Half of the red star rings you had to utilize a parkour section to get to a hidden area. But half of the time, though, when you had to do that, it was just really funky and finicky, and it just wasn't smooth. It was a cool idea, because I mean, Sonic definitely is the type of character that can utilize parkour, but again, the way that they implemented it didn't really work out too well.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Not my favorite.
Yeah, parkour was much better in Sonic Frontiers. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Sonic Frontiers, so
yes.
Good segue. Yeah, but yeah, Sonic Frontiers, it was such a fresh direction, and yeah, there are things wrong with it. There are flaws, but
yes,
I really like how it turned out. Like, I think it's a good game, and I hadn't been able to say that about a 3D Sonic game in a while, so.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming off of Sonic Forces, it definitely was a breath of fresh air. It was, because also for me, Frontiers is really like my first experience with an open world game. as I was never really, the open world genre was never really my thing. And now prior to that, yes, I did try out Breath of the Wild, because when I originally got my Switch, because my birthday is in March, so my birthday was the same year, or excuse me, same month that it came out, so I just got it later that month. My parents got me the Breath of the Wild bundle, so I was trying that out, but I couldn't get used to it. Because again, the whole open world nature for me for the longest time, the fact that I get the appeal of it, but for me, I'm like, I was just so used to linear type of games where it's like, okay, this is point A, point B is right over there, there you go.
Yeah.
Open world games, though, it's just like, well, have fun, good luck. And
yeah.
And for me, for the longest time, I'm like, no, I don't know what's happening. But with Sonic Frontiers, though, granted, no, it is not as involved as like Breath of the Wild and certain other prominent open world games. But I feel like for people like me and Sonic fans, it's a good introduction into that genre. And I was having a lot of, even just running around the islands, granted, do I think they could have looked a little more Sonic-esque? Yes. Yeah. Or just interesting in general. I do think that there could have been some more creativity implemented in all the islands, design-wise. Still, though, because they implemented, little bits of levels from other, 3D games into the islands just to run around and have fun with, I thought that was a really cool touch. I really liked that. Because it definitely made exploring the islands and traversing, more fun instead of just like a, flat pathway with nothing else. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Again, music, definitely a new direction with the music, but still can't really complain. It's another Sonic game with a fantastic soundtrack. So that's another thing that grabs me with that game. Now, the cyberspace levels. First of all, how do you feel about them?
I appreciate them for what they are. If you try and think of them as a normal Sonic level, then yeah, they don't really compare to stuff in Generations and stuff. But as kind of a bite-sized way to get the keys and stuff.
Yeah,
I like them. I like them for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm around the same boat. It's definitely a mixed bag. Now, because there are definitely some levels that are pretty short. I don't mind that, though, because I've seen people complain that oh, these levels are way too short. I do feel like that was, I'm 99% sure that was a conscious decision, because obviously the main point of the game is, the exploration factor of it all.
Yeah.
So the whole short nature of a lot of the levels, I'm like, that's okay, because, they're fun little levels and distractions. I do think, though, some of the levels could have been designed a little bit better, or had a better flow to them. One in particular, and this makes me sad, Cyberspace 3.5. That is one of my favorite songs, BMB, because it's juke footwork inspired, and I love that type of music. But I hate that level. It is because that's the only level that has you doing the drift move. But
okay, that's the drift level. I just remember.
Oh my
until
god!
You said that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Okay, yeah. Either I just can't get a good control, custom control for myself, or the drift is just not.
I think it's the latter. Well. Yeah, that level wasn't good.
Oh man, because I'm with the way the song is for that type of level, I'm the song works, but the drifting doesn't work. So oh man, it just ruins the experience for me. Yeah, that is definitely my least favorite cyberspace stage out of the whole game. And then there's Cyberspace 1-2, where I love it. I love the song. I love that it's based on Sky Sanctuary, but getting that S rank. That's the other thing. Getting the S rank on some of those stages, you have to be absolutely flawless.
Yeah, I kind of like that actually. 1-2, I know exactly what you're talking about. But that was a fun challenge for me, because a lot of the S ranks are ridiculously easy to get, but then some of them, you just have to keep retrying. And yeah, I kind of like that. And yeah, the song was really good. That's my favorite Cyberspace song, I'd say.
Okay. I mean, I usually like stuff like that too. I mean, I think, because it's been a little while, before getting this final DLC update, it's been a while since I played it, so I kind of need to just get reacquainted with the controls. I probably need to also just readjust the control schemes. And because since I'm saying that, I will say I think one of the best things about this game was the fact that they give you the ability to have Sonic act the way you want him to act. I think that was one of the best decisions that they made. You know, like his turning speed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for years everyone has been arguing about like, oh, you know, he should be running like this, or, you know, Color Sonic is the best, Unleashed Sonic is the best. And, you know, I would see these conversations a lot. And I mean, in some ways I get it. Of course, everyone's going to have their preference, you know, on something. I'm the type of gamer, though, where, you know, I realize, yes, it's, you know, the 15th installment of such and such series. However, of course, there are going to be changes made in some way, in one way or another. So for me, I'm like, no matter what, I'm prepared for something to feel different. Let me, you know, adapt to it as best as I can.
Yeah.
So the way that they've like changed his movement and behavior around over the years never really bothered me. I honestly never thought much about it. But I will say that the fact that they put that in as an option for Frontiers, I think was genius. And I think moving forward, they should continue to, especially for the 3D games, obviously, they should continue to have that option in there.
Yeah, I agree.
So that everyone can have their own, you know, preferred personal experience with how to go through a Sonic game.
Yeah, and just overall, I really like how Sonic controls in Frontiers. Like, that's possibly the best he's ever controlled, except maybe with Sonic Adventure, which... Yeah, it's so weird that they nailed controlling Sonic in 3D like on their first try, and then Sonic Adventure 2 is also pretty good, and then they just made Sonic control weird, like in subsequent. I don't know, like, and like the boost games, he controls differently, but they work for those type of levels. But just it was just always weird how they just nailed it and then didn't stick with that.
Yeah, they definitely were not afraid to change it around. Yeah, because I definitely prefer Adventure 2 style, because again, that was the first 3D Sonic game that I played, so I guess just by default, you know, I'm attached to that one. But then moving on after that, you know, I just realized I forgot to mention another favorite Sonic game, Sonic Heroes.
Oh, cool, me too.
I was just about to talk about that one, and I just realized, Sonic Heroes. Because, you know, I found out way after the fact that apparently that was like, and you tell me like if you saw anything different, but it seems like that was the game that kind of started the divisive shift among the Sonic, the Sonic fan base.
I was on the side that liked it. Like, to me, like, yeah, it has its flaws, but I don't know. I still loved it overall, and for me, it wasn't until the game after that kind of started the downfall, Shadow the Hedgehog, but... We get into that later.
But yeah, with Sonic Heroes, like because I had the GameCube version, I had so much fun with that game. And that was another one that I did 100%. And the other thing I loved about it, I mean, I was excited for it when it came out just for it being a new Sonic game. But the other reason why I was excited for that one was because of Team Chaotix. Because prior to that, the last time we saw SBO, Vector and Charmy was in Knuckles Chaotix, and I really loved them. I love that game, as ridiculous as it is. But, you know, the fact that they brought them back for Sonic Heroes, I thought was fantastic. So that was another reason why I love that game. But yeah, I don't know. I had a great time with Sonic Heroes. I never really, you know, when I found out years later that there were a lot of people who thought it was terrible or just really janky. I mean, yes, it was a little janky here and there. What Sonic game isn't? But I don't know. I didn't really have a terrible time with it at all. I always had fun playing that game.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Like, 'cause, like I've seen people complain about that game so much online, and like all their issues with it. It's like I acknowledge. I'm like, yeah, those things are all kind of wrong with the game, but I have a good time with it overall, and that's kind of what matters to me. Is like I still have fun with it. I don't care about like fidgety, janky controls or questionable dialogue or anything.
I mean, we're always gonna have something like that in some game, but again, we can stuff like that. I feel like unless it's like a glaring issue, I can look past that because again, it's like as long as it's a fun experience, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. But yeah, the way that controlled overall, I mean, granted, there were multiple control schemes depending on who you had in the lead, but I thought that was fine. It's just once, because the next 3D Sonic game I played after that one was, what was it? Sonic Unleashed. and that was a clear difference in movement, because I believe that was the one that started the boost. No. 06 I think started the boost gameplay, right?
No, it was Unleashed.
It was Unleashed. Okay. Yeah. So that definitely took a little getting used to. I did like it though, and Unleashed, that's another one. Even back when that came out, I liked it. Did I think it was the greatest Sonic game? No, but ultimately I did enjoy it. And again, soundtrack A+.
Oh, yeah.
God.
It's like, I like Sonic Unleashed, but like it has high highs, but like 2/3 of the game I just do not like at all. But those parts that I do like, I really like.
Yeah. Which parts would those be?
The parts that I do like are the Sonic levels, and that is it.
The daytime
the daytime levels. I hate the Werehog. I hate the QTE, like the tornado levels. I
forgot all about those
so much. And even like the hub rolls. I forgot all about those. Like, I see people praise the hub rolls, but I don't know. I don't even really like those because they're designed all weird. Like, they're very narrow. It's just like you're walking through a bunch of like really narrow hallways.
So I'm guessing you had either the PS3 or 360 version?
Oh, yeah. Or were you talking about different versions here? Yes, I was talking about, I had on the Xbox 360.
Okay, see, I had it on Wii.
Okay, completely different game we're talking about then.
Pretty much, yeah. I believe, because that was something I found out like a few years after playing it. That, because the PS2 and Wii versions were essentially the same, and then the 360 and PS3 ones. Yeah, I found, I also found out later that, what was it called? Skyscraper Scramble, I think it was?
A Skyscraper Scamper, I believe it was, yeah.
Scamper, okay. Yeah, because I found out that was exclusive to the PS3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still to this day, I don't know. I have no experience with that level. Yeah, because in the Wii and PS2 versions, there's no hub world thing. It's just the menu. I mean, they in a way, though, they still implemented it in a way just with a bunch of dialogue, like text boxes and stuff. So it's still annoying.
It was. I did pick up the Wii version later on, so I experienced that too. And a lot of what I said still applies. I still like the Sonic levels, and I still hate the Werehog, but the Wii version, it doesn't hit the high highs of the HD version, but there's a lot less crap to deal with, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah. Yeah, from what I've seen with the 360 and PS3 versions, I can agree with that. The Werehog levels, I didn't mind, but do I think they could have been designed and implemented better? Yes. I mean, look, I definitely love me some, good combat in a game, and I think the combat was fine. Do I think it could have been a little more interesting? Yes.
Yeah.
But the one thing especially, though, that I don't care for, still to this day do not care for about the nighttime levels, is how every time you got into a battle, that the brass section, the brass section from the Invisible Orchestra just comes blaring in with the da-da-da, and I'm like, listen, I was jamming out to the song in the background, and you are interrupting my flow. That I did not care for.
Oh, yeah, that bothered me so much. Like, I like that song, but I don't want to hear it constantly.
Yeah, like, I wish... if only there was a way to toggle that on and off, because, seriously, my favorite song in that whole game is the nighttime version of Arid Sands. I love that song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But, of course, going through that level, I'm trying to jam out to the music, and here come the enemies every 5 seconds, and the brass section is introducing themselves without permission, and I'm getting upset. So, like I said, the way that the music, the battle theme just kept coming on, that I really did not like about the nighttime sections at all. But yeah, the tornado section, I'm trying to wonder if maybe that was...
I think that wasn't in the Wii one. So I think
I was about to, that's what, because when you said that, I'm like, I really don't remember that at all.
I'm glad you did not experience that. I hated that probably more than having to do the Werehog stages, because it's literally nothing but QuickTime events. And if you mess up too much, you have to start from the very beginning, and it goes on for like minutes and minutes. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I don't mind QuickTime events as long as they're like done right.
Yeah, I like QuickTime events when they're like a little, like they have the QuickTime events in the middle of the levels where you just like hit buttons to. And like sometimes they'll like take Sonic to a different part of the level or something if you do it right. I like it like that when it's implemented that kind of way. But yeah, a whole level of nothing but QuickTime events that get more and more annoying. Yeah, I did not like that.
Okay. Because now I'm trying to remember if any of the QTEs were in the Wii version. You know what? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Because I know I've seen gameplay of the 360 and PS3 versions where it's in there. But now that I think about it, I don't remember if QTEs were even put in the Wii and PS2 versions.
Yeah, now I'm drawing a blank. I remember the Wii one much less than the 360 one. So yeah, I can't confidently say they were.
I don't know.
But yeah, they were done well in the levels. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the developers seemed like obsessed with QuickTime events because they put them in like the levels, the bosses, especially the werehog bosses. Like you have to do QTEs to do like these cinematic parts where like the werehog's just wailing on them, and then they had tornado levels that were literally nothing but QTEs and.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea about the tornado levels until now. I did not know that. Interesting.
They suck. I could just rant on and on about those. Like, I hate them. There's only two. There's really only two levels, but those two levels I just hate so much.
Just two levels too much.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. We've talked about our favorite Sonic games. Now let's talk about some of our least favorite Sonic games.
Okay. Well,
that can get us going. Yeah.
I don't have like a large list, but I'll start off with Sonic Labyrinth on the wonderful Game Gear.
Oh yeah.
That game, like, the only reason why I had it, once again, Sonic's face was on it. My mom knew I loved Sonic, so she was like, "Here, happy birthday," or whatever. I don't know what the occasion was, but she just got it for me. And like, okay, at the time, I thought it was so cool because I'm like, oh my god, I'm young and it's Sonic. I don't care. But getting older and revisiting it, I'm like, damn, like, why did they do this?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, they were trying something new. I get it, but
yeah, it's like I can kind of appreciate Labyrinth for what it is, but I wouldn't call it good.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think for shits and giggles on Sonic Origins, because I know they put it on there, I'm probably just going to play it again just because, I do that with certain games from my childhood. I'm like, I know, like, I hated a lot of this game, but the nostalgia, I need that little nostalgia trip right now. So I'm going to revisit it again, just because. And then another honorable mention has to go to another Game Gear title, Sonic 2. Because unlike Sonic 2 on the Genesis, the Game Gear version, oh my god, still to this day, I have not beaten it. I don't think I ever will. Now, again, it's another love-hate thing because it was one of the earliest Sonic games I had. I never did have the first one for it. I'm not sure why that was, but I started out with the second Game Gear game and then Sonic Labyrinth, and that was it for Sonic Game Gear games. But yeah, Sonic 2 on Game Gear it's just so frustrating. Yeah. It's very frustrating to play. And then I'm just going to guess that when they were making the Game Gear games for the Sonic franchise, they were like, we are going to make these the most obnoxious games to play and to fully complete, because the fact I did not like how the Chaos Emeralds were just randomly, I mean, I know every time you play the game they're in the same spot, but it's just the fact that they are just hidden somewhere on the stage, and already your visibility with the screen is very limited. Like, it's just, I don't know, I hated that.
Oh yeah.
Like, at that point I was just used to, we go to a special stage to find the emeralds. But no, they're just laid out somewhere on the stage. You have no idea. Like, there's rarely ever any hints that like lead you or be like, hey, there might be something interesting over here. Like, there's none of that. Or there is, I missed it, I don't know. But yeah, Sonic 2 on Game Gear, not my favorite. And then another one, Sonic and the Secret Rings. I I wanted to love that game. Now, first of all, I love the look of it. I thought for the Wii, looked really cool. Love the whole aesthetic of it, but the fact that it was an auto runner and you had to use the motion controls, and I like motion controls. I'm cool with that. My problem was I feel like it was not implemented well, because to have to thrust the Wii remote forward to do a homing attack, and half the time it didn't even work. And then there were sections where you had to use the homing attack, because I remember. I don't remember the specific stage, but there is a stage where like there's those aerial dash rings where you had to homing attacks through them to get forward. I cannot tell you how many times I would thrust that Wii remote forward and Sonic was like, nope, not today. I'm going to fall to my death. And I just couldn't get forward. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not playing this anymore. So oh man, like I said, I wanted to like that game, but because it was an auto runner and the motion controls were not always responsive, I couldn't get down with that game. So those are my 3 least favorites for right now. I might think of another one, but I'd like to hear your choices.
Yeah, I could completely understand those choices. And yeah, I remember there was something, because I got Sonic Chaos, and that was new. And there's something in the manual, I forgot what it said exactly, but something like, there's like a little blurb like, if the challenge of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was too much for you, like this game, they were pretty much saying like, we know we made Sonic 2 too hard.
Oh,
I forgot how it was worded, but it was like pretty much like being self-aware. Something like try a more reasonable challenge here with Sonic Chaos or something like that.
I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
At least they knew it. At least they knew what they did.
I gotta look up the Sonic Chaos manual. Yeah, it said something like that. Just like a little tiny blurb. But yeah, Sonic 2 on the Game Gear. I have too many fond memories with it to say I dislike it, but I agree with everything you said. It was, and I've never beat. It's another game like Sonic Spinball. I've never beat it without cheating. But that game had a convenient level select. You could just go right to the last zone and then. And I like playing through the game that way, when I can just kind of hop into levels and not have to worry about just the gauntlet of beating that whole game. But yeah, that was, the difficulty in that game was not fair or good or anything.
Not at all.
And Sonic's and Secret Rings, I definitely have history with that game. I got it day one, and I was kind of enamored with motion controls at that period of time, because that was early 2007. And I got the Wii with Wii Sports and everything. I was like, yeah, motion controls, it's the future of gaming, it's so awesome. So I remember liking Sonic and the Secret Rings at first, just because like anything motion control was just awesome and futuristic. And then I remember like going back to it not too long, like a year later, I'm like, oh god, this sucks. Like all the fond memories I had with that game were just gone, like trying to play it. And I know it's like, I started a fresh file, and it's like, I know if you start from the beginning, it gets better as you unlock stuff, but even doing that, so I agree. Sonic and the Secret Rings is not good. But as far as least favorites go, and I guess this is more based on disappointment than like a bad game on an objective level, but one of them would definitely be Shadow the Hedgehog, and I might ruffle some feathers with that one, but that was like,
I was going to mention that too, but yes, yeah.
Oh my god, that represented like everything I did not want from Sonic. I like Shadow as a character, but his game,
same.
Oh my god, and like, but yeah, I still got it, and even trying to play it, it had some cool ideas, I will give it. Like the whole like choose your destiny worked for the good guys, the bad guys, but the way it was implemented was so bad. You're like running through, also like Doomsday or whatever comes, like do this thing for me, and then Sonic goes like, no, do this, and then it's like it constantly like changes your objective. Right. You're like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then
exactly.
And they continued their decline of making the characters control properly, because I remember like, I guess the whole thing is Shadow has hover shoes, so it's supposed to feel like skates, but I don't know. It felt so slippery, like I was on ice the entire time. I didn't have a good time with that game, and I remember just looking up the endings online, because I was like, I'm not going to play through all these.
Right, yeah. That I was just about to say. The fact that in order to get the true ending, you have to play the game like 75 times. And get all I'm like, hell no. I don't have time for that. I mean, I did have time for it, but I was like, I don't have the patience. No. But yeah, that I didn't care for. the whole, giving him guns and other weapons to use. I'm like, okay, we know that Shadow is the edgelord of the characters. I get it, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's just
everything that game represented was. I was not a fan. It had some good music though.
That's one of the few Sonic games where I would have to really just look up the soundtrack and listen to it, because I really don't remember.
Some of it was pretty good. Some of it, okay. Yeah, it definitely had some stuff that was like a little too edgy for my taste, but like some of the level music, like Digital Circuit was a really good song.
Okay.
And, Sky Troops, that was a really good. It had some good music.
Okay.
I'll give
like I said, I'm gonna have to look that one up, because I didn't make a lot of progress in it to begin with. I had the Xbox version, and I wanted to like it because it's a Sonic game, and I love Shadow as well. I really wanted to like it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it didn't do it for me. Like I said, the whole weapon aesthetic and the constant backtracking with what path of morality to choose.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that one. And really, because since we're mentioning a lot of these games that were from the mid 2000s, another reason why I wasn't a huge fan of the games during that time was partially because of the voice cast.
The switch to 4Kids, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of that voice cast because what was his name? Jason Griffiths? Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Now, I'm not saying I hated him as Sonic, but especially from watching the Sonic X anime, which also we'll get to that in a moment. But the way he would deliver a lot of his lines, it just you could tell.
Emphasized every other word.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna get those emeralds, Tails.
Yeah.
I'm like, look. Tails is right in front of you. You can talk to him like you're actually having a conversation with. That was the thing for me. That's how I am. And it's not even just him and a lot of the actors for that era of Sonic, just in general. When I'm watching anything that involves voice acting, when the actors are delivering their lines in a way where you can tell they are not having a conversation directly with one another, I check out. I find it super distracting. I don't like it.
Yeah, and I'm with you there about Jason.
Okay.
I think he got a lot better. By the time it got to
over time, yes.
Yeah. By the time it got to Sonic Unleashed and Sonic the Black Knight, regardless of that game's quality, his delivery got a lot better. But yeah, those first few years, I was not a fan.
Yeah, it's just it was just too distracting for me. And Tails. Of course, yes, Tails, because at that time I think Tails was 12 years old or something like that, because they gave them all official ages at certain points. Yes, he was definitely Cream is the youngest, but he was young, but I don't know, I just felt how am I trying to explain this? It just seemed a little too childish for me in a way, I guess. Tails has definitely had an interesting journey over the years because, he started out coming off as fairly useless in a way. But finally at this point, with Frontiers, they're really letting him grow into his own, I almost said own person, own fox, so to speak, which is great. But I don't know, at that time, especially being an engineer and everything, it's he would have those moments where it seemed he knew what he was talking about, was very confident in those abilities, but then all of a sudden he would just shift back into being oh, I can't do anything without Sonic around. And I'm can you just make up your mind about, can you handle this on your own? Can you not? I don't know. And then the way the delivery was half the time was just annoying for me. I did like Dan Green as Knuckles. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, me too.
And then you had, who was it who voiced Rouge?
I don't remember at all.
I think it was Lonnie Manella, I think. But I just found it hilarious how, because I think Rouge was 16, but then they had her sounding like a 47-year-old cougar. I didn't understand what was going on with that, but because Rouge is one of my favorite characters. But yeah, like I said, during that era, the voice cast was another reason why those games for me were kind of hit or miss in a way.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, Black Knight, I didn't even bother with that one because I just knew.
Yeah,
When that was announced, I was like, why? Why are we
in
doing
my
this?
opinion, it is worse than Sonic and the Secret Ring, so take that as you will. It is.
I mean, that's what I've heard.
It is just pure on waggle controls, and yeah, it kind of sucks because the story is actually pretty good. The story and like the voice acting, like it's really good in like a lot of aspects, except the gameplay is possibly some of the worst ever. So,
Which is a shame.
yeah.
Because I think, not that I think the storybook series was a bad idea. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just clearly the way that they developed and designed the games, it worked against them. Because I'm sure they probably had plans to make multiple games within the storybook series, but...
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then, never really happened.
Black Knight killed it.
Yeah.
Because I doubt... I mean, I'll be surprised if we ever get another one in the storybook series or like a remaster or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I doubt it.
And then another least favorite, and this isn't a bad game on a technical level at all. It's another thing that represents so many bad feelings, and that is Sonic Forces. To me, that just felt like Sonic Team giving up.
Man, Forces, and I just thought of another one I have to add, but yeah, let's talk about this for a minute.
Like,
Forces,
they took a solid game engine, like, the Generations Unleashed engine, totally solid, and then they just made levels that are like endless hallways that you just boost through enemies and don't really have to put any thought into, and they even messed up classic Sonic in that. It's like, how did you do that?
Yeah,
and then
no. Oh, sorry. Finish.
I was gonna say, like they cut so many corners in every, like, even telling the story. Like, it's kind of an interesting concept. You know, Eggman finally succeeds in taking over the world, but you don't really see that. You're just told that through like white text on a black screen, and then you don't really see that. And then it's just like, the cutscenes are just like, you know, it has some actual cutscenes, but most of them's just like faces with like little text boxes, and that's just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I
Forces.
couldn't believe how lazy that game seemed. Like,
agreed.
It just seemed like they were doing the bare minimum of what can be considered like a reasonable retail release of a video game, and I was so let down by that in so many ways.
I was too. The other problem I feel was that they were hyping that game up real hard at the time. Yeah. If you remember, they were really hyping it up, which, you know, my thing is, if you're going to hype something up, you better make sure you can back it up with the finished product. Okay. And, you know, the whole concept that this was a darker story where Eggman actually conquered, you know, the world. I was like, okay, you know, this is an interesting turn. I was really looking forward to it at first because of all of that. Yeah. And then, you know, we found out over time that it was tied to Mania. So I'm like, all right, you know, I had high hopes for it. And then I'm playing it, and like, I wasn't hating it at first, but as I'm going through it, I'm just like, I'm just getting an empty feeling from this game. Like, despite the whole grandeur that they're trying to put on it, there just seems to be something missing about it. Like, similar to what you just said, like, there just wasn't what the finished product was at the end. I didn't really care about it at all. Yeah. And then the thing, this really boggles my mind. Now, mind you, I do think Infinite is cool. Do I think that they needed to flesh him out more and get more specific with his character? Yes. Oh, hell yeah. Now, I know that there was a whole comic issue that was like a prequel, or not, well, yeah, a prequel to that in a way, but like explained his origins in a way more. But my thing is, why couldn't y'all just do that in the game itself? Number one. And then number two, you know, okay, they hyped up, you know, bringing back Chaos, Zavik, Metal Sonic, and who was the other one? Shadow, right? I mean, we all know that they were fake, but wasn't Shadow like the fourth one of that little quartet? Yeah, it was like Chaos, Zavik, Metal Sonic, and Shadow. Okay. Yeah. That, you know, at first I'm like, okay, you know, bringing back older enemies. But then, especially in Chaos's case, it's like, why did you even bring him back like that? He was one of the first major, you know, villains of the franchise, thanks to Sonic Adventure, and you bring him back for a cutscene, and that's it. that drove me crazy. I was very upset about that.
Yeah.
I was really like expecting and hoping like we would get another, interesting battle with him, but nope, nothing. But it's like, oh, we get to deal with Zavik again, of all
I know.
villains.
Yeah. They were really trying to make Zavok a thing for a while, and it's just like, he's not going to be a thing. No one cares about him. Stop.
Right, and I'm just gonna go back to Lost World real quick, because since we're talking about Zavik, like the Deadly Six, that was another issue I had with Lost World and with Forces to a certain degree. Like the Deadly Six, don't call a group of characters Deadly Six when there's nothing deadly about them. That was another thing that drove me crazy, because like I like their designs. I think they had cool, interesting designs, but at the end of the day, I'm like, why are they called Deadly Six? Because they really are not doing anything deadly at all. And granted, because whoever the writers were at that time, because, they had done another voice cast change at that point, Roger Craig Smith as Sonic, and Colleen O'Shaughnessy, whoever it is Tails. And I like the new people, the current people. I do. I know there's some people who had issues with Roger Craig Smith. I actually always liked him.
Yeah, he's my favorite Sonic voice actor, actually. People complain that he sounds too old, and I can understand that, but I don't know. He comes off so natural compared to the other voice actors. Like,
right.
I just think he nails it.
Yeah, and again, it's like this franchise is now 32 years old, so in a way, like,
yeah,
I feel like it's fine. I mean, I kind of get the argument that he sounds too old, because yes, we've been used to him sounding more on the younger side for a long time, but again, it's like Sonic, this franchise is now 32 years old. I feel like it's only natural to give all the characters some more maturity now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a natural
for Sonic sounding old than talking like this and overemphasizing every other word.
Exactly. Yeah. Like because if he was always talking like that, still to this day, I don't know if I'd still be playing Sonic games.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would want to be hearing that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Deadly Six characters, they were not. They forgot to make them interesting. Let's just say that. Sega forgot to make them interesting, and so to bring Zavik back in Forces, I just thought was extremely random, because again, they did not really pose a serious threat in Lost World, so it was like, what really warranted his return in Forces for this whole ordeal? But again, the way that they tried to bring back the 4 classic enemies like that and didn't really give them anything interesting to do, and again, they let you have this battle with Zavik over chaos. I'm like, that.
Yeah, that pissed me off too. Yeah.
Didn't care for that. And then episode Shadow was just kind of like, what was even the point of this?
Yeah, the whole thing was like, you get to see what made Infinite be so angsty and stuff, but it's just stupid. Shadow's just like, you're weak. He's like, no, I'm not weak. And then that's the whole backstory, and it's like, that's dumb.
Yeah, Forces it just turned out to be a huge letdown.
Yeah.
The whole Avatar part of it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was like the one thing they did right, but like the customization of the Avatar and everything is really cool, but it's like, what's the point of making a cool looking character in like levels that really suck? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I just realized, really for me, my number one least favorite Sonic game is Sonic 4, Episode 1.
Okay, I can see that.
It just dawned on, and I'll explain why. Now, look, at the time when it was announced, yes, I was excited. I was like, oh my god, we're getting a proper Sonic 4. This is amazing. And I was following the progression, because, if you remember, or anyone else listening to this, there was a whole website, and they, were trying to make us guess, which characters were going to be playable, and they were like, yeah. And then, finally it dwindled down where they made it clear, it's like, nope, it's only going to be Sonic. And I'm like, well, okay. I personally was hoping that, at least Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were going to be there. But I'm like, okay, whatever. And then it came out. And at the time, because I got it on PS3. And I liked it. I was okay with it. And then, Episode 2 happened. I'm like, okay, great. And then I was thinking in Episode 3 what's going to happen. It never happened. I'm like, all right, fine. But then looking back, especially on Episode 1, And I did play it again a few years afterward, and I realized, I was like, you know what? This game was a slap in the face, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, you know, it's called Sonic 4, which is supposed to take place after 3 and Knuckles. Why are the modern designs being used? That was a mistake. I get why they were using them, but ultimately, no. I think that was a mistake. And then the other glaring issue, it was already bad enough that it was only 5 zones long, but the fact that they all were basically recycled versions of Green Hill Zone, Casino Night Zone, Labyrinth Zone, and Metropolis Zone, I'm like, there really is nothing new about this game at all. They build it as a 4th sequel, really 3rd sequel, but, you know, just a 4th installment of the classic series, and yet this is all basically recycled material.
Yeah.
It was pretty much all recycled material. The physics were completely effed up entirely in that game.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have the same kind of history of that game. I liked Sonic 4 Episode 1 at first. Like, you know, I was starving for some 2D Sonic, and yeah, I got on my Xbox 360 the day it came out. And yeah, at the time I liked it. I didn't really notice the physics as much. And yeah, even then I realized, you know, nothing about it was really original, but I don't know, I had fun. And then, yeah, going back to it now, I don't know if I'd call that one of my least favorites, but it's definitely not something I have a lot of appreciation for now, especially since we've gotten Sonic Mania and stuff in time since.
Right. Yeah. And with Episode 2, I do think Episode 2 is better than 1 because at least they put a little more originality into it.
Yeah.
But it...
Yeah, Episode 2 I can appreciate. I still love Episode 2, but it was definitely an improvement.
Yeah. And the tag actions with Tails, I liked. But I think... Because the whole flying mechanic was just really awkward. Yeah. Because it felt like Tails couldn't even fly that long.
Yeah, and I hated having to watch those animations every single time. It just killed the flow.
Exactly.
And then they have what they call the 60 mine move, or at least what I've seen called that online. Where like they're rolling with like their heads by their junk and...
I mean, hey, listen... Clearly they enjoyed doing it, so that's them. I'm glad they had their fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. The fact that you always had to watch that animation, like you couldn't just quickly go into it. Again, I think the idea of the tag actions were cool, but yeah, not implemented in the best way. But yeah, Sonic 4 was just...
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I feel like with Superstars coming out, I feel like they should just retcon and act like the original Sonic 4 never happened, and that Superstars is actually...
Yeah, it's like, I think that's pretty much what they've done at this point.
Yeah.
I think they've pretty much successfully erased Sonic 4, especially with Sonic Mania's opening, where they're like going up that elevator, and it's like 1, 2, 3, K, then M.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they didn't even mention 4 at all. Yeah. So, yeah, I think they are just like, no, that never happened. That was just a fever dream. Everybody was drunk. You saw nothing. It's fine.
Yeah. And as for a third least favorite Sonic game for me, I'm gonna do a very obvious one and just say Sonic 2006.
I mean, yeah, might as well.
Yeah, because my history of that. Yeah, I was so hyped. That was like, of all the games I mentioned, that was the one I was most excited for. I remember like skipping class that day because I had a pre-order just to like take the bus to GameStop. I was so excited. And it was kind of a slow burn for me. I brought it home and then I was playing it and my friend came over too and we're like, he was like watching me play and was like, oh, I fell through the floor there, but I mean, it's next gen Sonic. I'm like, oh, that was a weird glitch, but it's next gen Sonic. This is super fun. And then, like, as time went on, I was like, this...
Like, it just kept happening.
Yeah, and then it's like, I kind of finally had to admit, like, this is a bad game. And, yeah.
Now, I never did play that one myself. I wanted to, of course, because I remember it coming out, and, you know, like you said, I'm like, oh, next-gen Sonic. Now, I confused myself initially because I thought it was also coming out on the Wii as well at the time, because I was going to get that version, but then I found out it wasn't. And I was considering getting it for the PS3, but then I had found out from various reviews and online complaints about how the game actually was, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna leave this one on the shelf. I don't know about that. And then years later, because there's this, what is the name of the YouTube channel? You might have heard of these YouTube videos called Son of a Glitch.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I saw the one that was devoted to Sonic 06, and I was like, damn. Like, I knew that there were glitches in this game, but I didn't realize it was this ridiculous.
Yeah, it is that bad.
God. So, yeah, I'm glad I skipped out on that one. But I know that if I did play it myself, I know that I wouldn't have liked it. Oh my God. I mean, I definitely give kudos to people who have taken the time and had the patience to 100% that game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Considering how broken beyond repair it is. Like, my God.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. Yeah, that was another game where I just looked up the endings online. I'm like, I'm not playing through this. I finished Sonic Story and then just couldn't do the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because one thing I was mostly curious about with that game was Silver, of course, since that was his introduction into the series. And in some ways, I kind of feel bad for Silver because the whole idea of a character with telekinetic abilities, I already thought that was cool, because when it comes to fictional characters that have psychic-based powers, I always love that. So I'm like, all right, cool. But obviously, seeing just first of all, how the game is, and then seeing how his gameplay was implemented, I'm like, it's kind of a shame, because I feel like they really could have done something cool with him. Now, I know I probably would be feeling different if I actually played it myself, to just get my own personal experience with it. But again, just seeing how Silver plays and what goes on, I'm like, it wasn't really what I was expecting. Then again, I don't know exactly what I was expecting with this gameplay, but I don't know. Just from all the gameplay videos I've seen of Silver, I don't know. I just feel like something better could have been done with it. I mean, okay, you said that you did Sonic Story, so you didn't do Silver Story at all, or
finish it? I did most of Shadows and Silvers, and I did not like. Yeah, like you said, cool concept, but I hated playing as Silver a lot. And
yeah, it just seems like I wish that he could get some proper redemption, because I mean, since then I know he was playable in, I think, Sonic Rivals 1 or 2, which I've never played, but wasn't he in one of those?
Yeah.
If you know?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I think maybe both of them, actually, or at least 2.
Okay.
It's been a while since I played those. Yeah, he's been playing random things and spin-offs and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I like Silver now, I guess, but I hated him in 2006. His voice annoyed me so much, and I just thought his design looked weird. It looked like he had a big pot leaf on his head.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
I
warmed up to him, but just in his debut game, it already made things worse that I hated controlling him, but I just did not like him.
Yeah. His theme song, though, Dreams of an Absolution, I do love that song.
That is a banger, yeah. That is a good song.
I will say that, and again, the music, I mean, there still are a lot of songs from 06 that I haven't fully listened to, but again, it does have some great music.
Oh, yeah.
Because
really
I always say this to people, I always say this to people that I know, especially ones that don't have a lot of Sonic experience. I tell them, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you've heard that there's jankiness throughout this franchise. We know that. However, if the game sucks, usually the music helps save it.
Yeah.
That's usually the truth. To lighten the mood a bit, because I just thought of something. Because when I mentioned the tag actions, it made me think of something else when we were talking about our favorite Sonic games. I forgot to mention the Sonic Advance games.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
Still to this day, I am hoping that they will get re-released in some kind, because I remember on the Wii U, on the Japanese eShop, when they brought, Game Boy Advance games on there, they put the trilogy on there, but we never got it here in the States, which always upset me. But I hope, because with the Game Boy Advance games now being on Switch, through Switch Online, I'm hoping we can get those back, because all 3 of those games I really liked. And Sonic Advance 3, honestly, I would say would have to be my favorite out of those.
Oh yeah, same here. Actually, yeah, one of my earlier videos was my top 10 Sonic games, and Sonic Advance 3 ranked like really highly. It was like right below Sonic Adventure, if I remember correctly. So I love all three, but I really love Advance 3.
Yeah,
all the different
being able
mechanics with that and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you were able to just mix and match your partners all the time instead of just like having to have Sonic in the lead or only do Sonic and Tails. Like, I really, really like that about it.
Yeah, Sonic and Tails were my go-to team, but yeah, I would mix it up sometimes and just, yeah, make things fun. Especially, yeah, they had like the alternate pathways with Knuckles or like someone with a power type.
Right.
So, like kind of Sonic 3 and Knuckles type of thing with different pathways. But it didn't have to just be Knuckles, you just had to have like a power type, I believe. Yeah. And
because before we move on to our next topic, one other game I want to mention that's both my favorite and least favorite at the same time. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but there's a method to my madness. I have to mention Knuckles Chaotix. Okay. That is, for me, that game is strictly down the middle as a favorite and least favorite. Because first of all, it's the only Sonic 32X game, even though Sonic wasn't in it, outside of the ending credits scene for the good ending. But for me, when that came out, Knuckles, ever since Knuckles' introduction into the series, he has always been one of my favorite characters. I love Knuckles. So when I saw that he had his own game, I was like, okay, yeah, I need this now. And then the Chaotix characters, I just thought were really cool. I loved all of their designs. I know everybody shits on Charmy, but still, I love Charmy.
I'm one of those people that shit on Charmy.
All right, fair enough. But you know what, though? I mean, let's face it, Charmy broke that game. Man, sometimes he was one of the best characters to use because you could just fly wherever you wanted, not have to worry about a thing. But at the same time, that kind of was a problem. Because, again, the Knuckles having his own game, the Chaotix characters being cool, the overall aesthetic, because, I mean, the colors of that game, the backgrounds, like, it was a beautiful game to look at.
Aesthetically, that is one of the best-looking Sonic games. Yeah.
Yes, I love the aesthetic of that game, and I love that music. But I will fully admit that game is very, very flawed, and it's such a shame.
It is.
Such a shame. The whole ring combo system, cool idea, not implemented in the best way. The whole combi catcher thing to choose your partner, I get it, but again, I mean, obviously there is that one option you could get in the bonus stage where you could just choose your partner, directly and not have to worry about the whole roulette nature of it. But sometimes that would get on my nerves because, I'm really just trying to get, like Mighty, and then accidentally he gets swapped out with Heavy. And I'm like, you are not who I wanted, but okay, fine. And yeah, the level designs as beautiful as the levels are themselves. It was just a lot of the same, let's run through this little half loop, let's run through that other half loop and go over here. It was just a lot of the same stuff because it just seemed very clear that, they wanted to stick with the whole ring combination idea, but they just didn't know how to build levels around it properly to make it interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of the levels in all 5 sections just seemed like the same thing.
Yeah, the level design was terrible in that game.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That's so many cool ideas, and it's a shame that they dropped the ball where it mattered.
Yeah, exactly. I do think some high points for me, though, outside of, the aesthetic and the music, the whole, using the level select, turning that into a boss battle, I did think that was cool.
I remember
that actually, that freaked me out the first time I ever got to that, because I was not prepared for it. Metal Sonic's coming out of nowhere, that's another thing. That was my first experience with Metal Sonic because I didn't have a Sega CD growing up. I didn't grow up playing Sonic CD at all, so that was my introduction to Metal Sonic. But like I said, when that whole thing happened, it legit scared me and freaked me out. I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And then, him transforming into Metal Sonic Kai at the end, that was scary as hell to me as a kid. I'm sorry, for me, that was a wicked design for Metal Sonic, but I love it.
Yeah.
So I thought that, for me, that was a high point. But then on the flip side, the whole Chaos Rings, it's like, why wasn't anything else interesting done with these things? Like, sure, you get the cool message at the end, and it gives you the good ending where Sonic and Tails decide to stop by for a visit during the credits, but that's it. And especially considering how frustrating the later special stages got.
Oh yeah, I never got all the Chaos Rings, yeah.
Well, again, you didn't miss much because, like I said, the only thing you get is just the cool message and Sonic and Tails coming by on the tornado for the credits. Yeah. But my thing is, like, if you're gonna, if they're gonna make us players get frustrated through these final levels of getting the Chaos Rings, then let us get, a significant reward behind it. And nothing, no super forms, nothing. So that wasn't my favorite. But getting that bad ending though, that was. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but, just seeing Metal Sonic High just flying over a burnt, destroyed Neutrochic High zone, I'm like, I'm like, okay, this is pretty somber for a Sonic game. But yeah, I just had to give some mention to Knuckles Chaotix real quick, because, again, it has a special place in my heart, but again, I totally recognize how fundamentally flawed that game is, and it's a shame.
Yeah, I hear you. One last thing on the topic of we're talking about worst Sonic games. I feel like I have to mention at least one game like that's bad on a technical level. And this won't require too much talk, but I just have to mention Sonic Jam on the Gamecom. Because I actually owned that. Like, I had a Gamecom. I didn't get it when it was new. It was at a garage sale or a thrift store or something out of Gamecom. I got it super cheap, and then I got Sonic Jam for it. And I don't know if you've seen it, like any gameplay online or anything. It is as bad as it looks.
Oh man!
Like on a technical level, it's just not even really playable.
Oh jeez. I have zero experience with the Gamecom. I've heard of it, but I never.
Bad. It's very bad. And it's and the screen's harder to see than like the original Game Boy. Like, no backlighting or anything. You have to have it just right to see a screen where it's like you can't even really play the game because the frame rate's so choppy and for any of you out there who have not seen Sonic Jam on the Gamecom, I suggest looking it up just to get an idea, because it is bad.
I didn't even know it was on it. Like, I knew about it being on the Saturn, and I played a little bit of the Saturn version, but I did not know.
Sonic Jam on the Saturn and Sonic Jam on the Gamecom are two completely separate games. I think they just used the name for like cross promotion, but it's basically like random levels from the Genesis Sonic games, like Emerald Hill from Sonic 2 and then Mushroom Hill from Sonic and Knuckles, but you can barely even play through them. And you can get stuck in the walls really easily, and it's so bad. So I feel like I had to mention one that's on a technical level, because everything I said is just like, oh, this is my least favorite because I was expecting more, and
Right.
Alright, well, let's move on to... Alright, so if there was one Sonic game that were to be, like, remastered or reimagined, what would you want that game to be?
Well, the one I was just talking about, Knuckles Chaotix. Although there might be another one I can think of, but Knuckles Chaotix for absolute sure. Because, again, I feel like there were a lot of cool ideas for that game. They were just very poorly executed. And, it's just in such a weird state within the Sonic franchise, within the Sonic fandom. Because again, there's no denying how strange and weird it is to play. But again, it being Knuckles' first game, introducing the Chaotix characters, it had a really cool setting, music. There were a lot of cool things about it. And I just think, because I know that you and I had talked about this on one of your Facebook posts a while back, I brought this up, where I feel like the ring combination system can work. It's just, if they were to reimagine this game, at least this is what I would do. Like, I would keep that in, but I would either make it like a power up to use, or just have like specific sections of stages where you have to use that.
Okay.
Because again, playing through that game, I feel like that the combination system doesn't necessarily work for an entire stage, but like if they, throw you like either in like special stages or just like little bonus rooms or something, like bonus challenge rooms like Kirby has, for example, because in the Kirby series there's always like that one stage where there's like a little challenge you got to do to get whatever collectible item it is. Like if they did something like that where then you had to use the combination system and do like different unique tricks, I think that would work out better as opposed to being stuck like that the entire time. Because again, that didn't, I mean, it wasn't so bad that I couldn't play through the game. Like I've beaten it multiple times, but again, was it awkward to deal with? Yes. Now keeping both like two characters on screen at one time, that's fine, but obviously keep them separate, like they could do their own thing. That's okay. But like I said, the combination part, keep it in, but just for very specific moments. I think they should do it like that. And then, like if they were to, at least this is how I would remaster, reimagine it, keep the 5 characters in, but like have it start out with Knuckles and SBO at first, similar to the original. But in order to get the other ones, you have to unlock them throughout the game. Like, let's say Vector is hidden he's like held up hostage in like Marina Madness or whatever the new level would be. Once you find him and unlock him, then you can choose him whenever you want. And plus, since everyone has their own specific mobility action, the more you unlock characters, obviously they will have certain paths that only they can traverse in every stage. So like that would give you another incentive to find them and unlock them so that they can go through their own special section in the stage to find a certain item or whatever, things like that. Like I said, Knuckles Chaotix is very special to me. I feel like it has a lot of potential to be a really cool game, and I would really love if Sega would like take time to like reimagine it. I don't think they will, but I'm just trying to hold out hope for it. I think it can be done. I think it can be redone in a better way. Yeah, I think that sounds really cool. Like something you described, where like they changed it up and kind of fixed their flaws. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And yeah, as for me, and this is a very popular request from fans right now, but I'd say Sonic Adventure, the first Sonic Adventure, would benefit the most from a like complete remake, because like conceptually it's so good. Like I love the hub worlds, I love the action stages, I love the intertwining stories, but yeah, it has aged. It has aged quite a bit. Yes, it has. If they brought up Sonic Adventure 1 to like modern standards, that would be so good. I agree. That's another one. It's been a while since I played SA1, but even the first time I played it, because again, Adventure 2 Battle was my first one, and then when they came out with the director's cut for GameCube, then I played Adventure 1. And even then I noticed a difference, but I still liked it. But when I had played it a few times afterward, I'm like, again, we all know that jank is all throughout the franchise, but holy shit, the jank is real in this game, and it needs some attention. Like there are a lot of moments in that game that are too frustrating when it doesn't even need to be. You said, it really hasn't aged well. That, like you said, that's the problem with that game. It has not aged well on a technical level. But yeah, like glitches aside, like it controls really well. Like controlling Sonic in like those 3D areas feels so good, and like controlling Knuckles and all that. Mm-hmm. But like the glitches and like just all the flaws kind of hinder the experience. Yeah. The glitches, and then really good too. Like Speed Highway, there are so many like alternate paths you can take, and like little areas with like there's a extra life icon like on top of this one huge building, and you really have to work to get up there. Right, like, they reward people for like exploiting like spin dash and stuff. Yes. Yeah, and that is great. Like, it's always nice when you find out, about things like that. It's like the developers, they know. It's like they know that their players are gonna, screw around and try to do stuff, and they reward you for it. Like, that's awesome that they do that. Another thing too with that game, the pacing of the dialogue and the cutscenes. That's another thing that always gets on my nerves when I play that game. It's just, again, it's definitely a product of its time. I get it. But yeah, for it to be reimagined, I know that they could and would do a better job with that. And then on top of that too, because another glaring what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, glaring issue with those cutscenes is like the volumes, like the music volume and
yeah.
both of it. They are so unbalanced because half of the time you cannot hear what they are saying, and it's like, what happened in the studio? Somebody fell asleep at the board and was not paying attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely agree. Adventure is in desperate need of a remaster. I mean, you know what? They might as well, even though I don't think it's absolutely necessary, I still would just love a great remaster of Adventure 2.
Yeah.
I love that game, and just to see it properly remastered with modern graphics and everything, oh
yeah. The dream would be both adventures in a bundle, like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. They just like did the whole trilogy redone. I don't see that happening, but that would be the dream.
For real. And there's been, maybe you've seen this, I don't know, but there's like these rumors that have been floating around about the possibility of Heroes being re-released.
Yeah, I've seen some talk about that. That could definitely benefit from like a remake. I don't see that happening. I don't see them going back to remake Heroes before other games, but I'd be on board for it if it did.
Same, yeah. Like I'm definitely taking those. I mean, I take almost any gaming rumor with a huge grain of salt because there's so many. There've been so many times where people claim like, "Oh, there's a leak of this and that," and no. So, like I said, I see these things. I would love for it to be real, but I realize I'm not holding my breath because who knows who came up with this and who knows how true it is.
Like I'm someone who very closely followed the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate speculation, where there was like a rumor every other day of like, "Oh, this character's been leaked." So I just know to always curb my enthusiasm, temper my expectations.
Oh yeah. I swear the leak Smash Brothers I feel like gets it the worst with all the leaks and rumors.
Fun times. Those are fun times, but yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Because that's probably something we could talk about on a different channel.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Different time, I should say.
All right, well let's talk about the future of Sonic. Where do you see the franchise going forward? Do you think they're gonna stick with the kind of groundwork they laid for Sonic Frontiers?
I think they should. There's a part of me that thinks that they could / should, but if they did also go back to like the adventure style, I think that could still work. Because I mean, let's face it, that clearly established a new era.
Yeah,
and it worked. Well, quote unquote worked for a long time. But I mean, I do think that the open world nature and aspect is a good fit for Sonic. They need to fine tune it, but I do feel like they can build on the Frontiers world of Sonic and keep that going. I do think that is a good direction. It's just, again, they just got to continue to fine tune various aspects of it.
Yeah.
But but like I said, they can stick with that, or if they do want to go back to the adventure style and even continue to fine tune that as well, sure. But then, I mean, because this clearly seems to be the overall direction of the franchise as a whole, where we're going to have classic world and modern world. So, which I think is fine, because I think that helps the Sonic fandom as a whole. Because there are people still to this day that act like the classic series is all that matters. And then you have those that, I would say probably the more younger fans who, think that, the classic ones are boring. It's all about the modern ones. So having the split right now, I do think is a good idea. Because I know for me,
I want them both to coexist,
Right, exactly. Because yes, I've technically been with the series since the very beginning. So of course, I'm always going to be nostalgic for some 2D Sonic. But of course, the 3D modern era, I still love it too. Like, I still want to support the series as it goes on. So overall, like I said, with 3D Land, either keep open world aspect or go back to adventure, whichever one they can fine tune the best and realize what works for it best. Yes. And then again, keep the classic side going as well. Now, on the classic side, because they stripped the whole pixel art for Superstars coming up. I mean, I do love the look of it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I love me some good pixel art.
Yeah.
So part of me like there's a part of me that would love to see how Superstars would have looked like the way Mania looks, but because I think you may have seen not too long, I think about a month ago, what is his name, Takashi Iizuka was claiming that pixel art like is not how did he phrase it?
He pretty much saying like it's not. Yeah, how did he phrase it? But
because he used a very specific phrasing for that. But you know what I'm talking about. He basically just feels like it's not the future. Basically, I know he didn't say exactly that, but that was overall his point.
It's not like sustainable or something like that.
I think that was the wording he used. I don't necessarily agree with that because, okay, yes, we are in 2023, about to be 24, and yes, graphics in gaming have, advanced exponentially throughout the years. We get that. However, it is very clear that there is a market for pixel art. Because, like, people like you and me and others, who, we've been growing up with gaming since the earlier days. And there are still games being made today, newer games, that utilize pixel art, and they all work out well. Like, there's still a market for it. So, like, part of me kind of understands where he's coming from, because I guess he's just in a mindset of, we need to just keep moving forward. But at the same time, it's like there are some series out there that I feel benefit more from a classic look. So, I mean, again, this current look and aesthetic for Superstars, I do like it. I do think it looks great. However, if they were, like, I don't think that they should completely shun the idea of revisiting pixel art for their games. Yeah. Because, again, Sonic Mania, that was I feel like if they used a 3D style for Sonic Mania, I feel like it would have been weird.
Yeah.
So,
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I mean, I can kind of see where he was coming from, because, like, I love pixel art too, like, and I would love another pixel art Sonic game, but mainstream-wise, like, I don't know, a lot of the younger generation probably see pixel art as just old, outdated. As much as I hate to say that, like...
Yeah.
I think they're going for more widespread mainstream audience with, like, the look of Superstars, and I get that. And I think Superstars looks good. Like, I do like the graphic style, but I do miss pixel art also. So it's kind of... I can see where he's coming from, but as someone who's also a fan of pixel art, it is kind of sad to hear, like, don't expect pixel art for future Sonic games.
Yeah, I don't know, because I guess, again, this is my nostalgia speaking a bit, but Sonic is one of those franchises, especially, with the classic side of things, where the pixel art really does benefit the series well.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe he doesn't see it or agree with that, but like I said, there are just some series I feel, because, like, I'll just quickly mention, like, Pokemon, for example, that I feel like the 3D has been doing that series a disservice. I feel like that is something that needs to go back to pixel art.
Yeah.
Because there's something about pixel art sometimes that actually helps give a series, a franchise, a character more personality than 3D. As weird as that sounds, but sometimes, especially with the classic side of Sonic, because they seem to enjoy keeping the classic versions of the characters silent, which that's fine, that's okay. Sometimes though, when the animated scenes for Sonic Mania, for example, they're all silent, but the way the animation is, it's great. You still, like, get their personality through it. And sometimes, at least for me, with pixel art as opposed to 3D, because, like, again, I'll just have to use Pokemon as a quick example. The pixel sprites, like for Black and White, even though I wasn't a fan of Gen 5, those all the sprites for all the Pokemon in Gen 5 on the DS have more personality than what the 3D models do still in Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
I will stand by that opinion, like, through and through. So that's why, like I said, and I feel like Sonic is a similar series. Like, Sonic is a product. Sonic is an icon of the 90s. So that's part of why I feel like pixel art, no matter what, will always work in Sonic's benefit. And if they never want to go back to it, fine. But I don't think that they should completely rule out that decision.
Yeah.
And depending on what type of game they want to do.
Yeah. And like I said, I do like the look of Sonic Superstars, my only concern, I guess, is like I hear people online constantly calling Sonic Superstars the new Super Mario Brothers of Sonic, and that's like, that kind of makes me worried. Is like 3 games from now, is it gonna still look the exact same, and are people just gonna get tired of how classic Sonic looks? So I hope that they continue this line of like 2D Sonic games with 3D graphics. They at least change up the art style or like make it fresh.
Yeah, exactly. Because really, I agree. I'm with you on that. If anything, like if they don't want to do pixel art, then I would say, yeah, like art style wise, do get a studio that's great with doing hand-drawn animation. You know?
Yeah, that would be like, really good for Sonic. Yeah.
That, hell yeah. Because I mean, not saying that this is going to happen, but like if we could have a Sonic, like play a Sonic game that's animated in a way similar to Cuphead, oh my god.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I'll probably never put the game down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that seriously, that if we could get that studio or people from that studio or something similar to do graphics for a Sonic game like that, please. Without a question, that probably would become the new standard, because every Sonic fan, especially though, in our age group that grew up with it from the early days, yeah, they're gonna want more of that, hands down.
Yeah.
If that were to happen.
Yeah, and going back to the 3D games, yeah, I'm hoping Sonic Team keeps with the Sonic Frontiers formula. They're kind of known for throwing out everything they like after Generations. They kind of just threw away that formula to do Sonic Lost World, and I hope they stick with this one, because like they got such good groundwork laid out. They just need to build upon it and definitely fix some things up, which they seem, because the director Morio Kishimoto, hope I got that name right, he's like active on Twitter and like responding to fans saying like, it sounds like he wants to like build upon this and like fix all the flaws. So that does make me hopeful for the future. And hopefully, the Cyberspace 2, like if they could, I understand they can't make a whole game's worth of levels on top of an open world thing, but yeah, maybe make them a bit more, I don't know, a bit closer to a typical Sonic level than just like a 1 minute sprint. I don't know. Like I said, I like cyberspace stages for what they are, but they are very, a little more meat on them. Plus open world. That would be really good, I think.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, because overall the cyberspace stages as a whole, they're very, I want to say haphazard, for lack of a better term, meaning that they're just very all over the place.
Yeah.
Which may have been the intent, considering the setting of the game and what's going on, but I understand what you mean. And since you mentioned Generations, and so I know that this is not going to happen, and it doesn't necessarily need to, but for me, like that game, I almost want that game to be revisited in a way, because mind you, when that game came out, I was super excited for it. There's a part of me that still loves that game, because it was definitely a good idea for a 20th anniversary celebration, going back through all the eras of Sonic at the time. I do feel like, though, there was some severe missed potential in that game, because especially since it had both console and handheld versions. Like when it came to the handheld version of Sonic Generations, I found it very strange that they didn't
like Sonic Generations 3DS. Yeah.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah, because I only had the PS3 version and played that one. That was it.
The gameplay wise, it's good. Like it plays like the modern Sonic plays like Sonic Rush, which is good, and then Classic Sonic mostly plays like Classic Sonic, but it's really important to me. They just dropped the ball so hard on level design. Like Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2 is one of the levels, and like when you play through this Classic Sonic, there's so many parts where you're just running straight on this bridge with like no platforms or anything. I'm just like, this isn't what a Sonic level's supposed to feel like, and I don't know.
Man, that's a shame.
Yeah, like the level design's really bad, which is it's a shame because they nailed the gameplay just fine.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I just didn't understand, especially when it came to the handheld version, because I was following the development of that game, because they were always like releasing info about that game as it was before it came out. I just found it really weird how they didn't even bother to include any of the actual, like any actual levels from handheld Sonic games. That didn't make it, well, outside of Sonic Rush, but it's like, where were the Game Gear levels? Where were the Sonic Advance levels? Like, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
My thing is, like, if you're going to make two different versions, obviously one for consoles, one for handhelds, and I would say, okay, like all the levels that they chose for the console versions, fine. But when it came to the 3DS version, I'm like, did they forget that they used to have a handheld system?
Yeah.
They had the Game Gear games, and then again, there was the Sonic Advance trilogy, so I just didn't understand why they completely left those out.
Yeah. At least one or two levels from those games would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, I definitely am not expecting them to ever like revisit Generations or like do a remaster of it. But like if they were going to, I just think they kind of need to redo that game and just choose different levels as well as choose more, like implement more levels into the game. Because like I said, I did love it. I was so excited for it, but I just always felt like there was something about that game that was missing. And that's part of what it is for me. Yeah. And I just found it disappointing.
I love Generations, but yeah, it could have definitely benefited from some DLC. Like if they added more levels on top of that after release, that would have been really cool.
Right. But instead, because I think the only DLC that we got was the whole Casino Night pinball.
Yeah, which is like cool, but yeah.
Could have done more with that.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's top it off with a fun topic here. What would your perfect Sonic game be?
Well, that's simple. Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's what I was kind of thinking too. I guess let's keep it for like a 3D, like modern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, okay. I guess for me, in regards to the more modern games, I would have to go with Adventure 2 then. If we're gonna stick with the 3D modern games for a perfect Sonic game,
I was thinking like not necessarily like talking about a game, but like if you were to think of like the perfect Sonic game in your head, like.
Oh, I see what. Okay.
Sorry if that question wasn't clear.
I see what you're saying. All right.
Like taking all the best aspects and like.
Right. Okay. That's a good. Now this is a great question. Okay, so, well, I'll be a little general right now as I get my thoughts together. But basically, I would take elements of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Adventure 2, and Frontiers. I would take elements of the three of those games to make a perfect Sonic game. Now, some elements I'm talking about, like from Frontiers, for example, the whole skill tree, like, having multiple characters to play as, and then have each one having a skill tree of different, abilities and techniques to use. Definitely from Frontiers, I'd bring that in. Adventure 2, the overall flow and feel of the game, like gameplay-wise, as well as story, because now we all know the Sonic stories in general are like pretty simple. I always enjoyed Sonic Adventure 2's story though.
Okay.
I still to this day have no complaints about it.
I was gonna say, I think Sonic Adventure 2 has the best story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are definitely games I put above Adventure 2, like, overall, but story-wise, Sonic Adventure 2 is still my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I always loved that story. And then, because I definitely liked how they handled the stories better than one, because like in Sonic Adventure 1, you have to play as all 6 characters just to get to the last one. Instead, in Adventure, it's like you got the hero side, you got the dark side, then you got the last story. Great. Now, depending on how I would do my perfect Sonic game, like if I wanted to do, have like a split, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a similar hero, like heroic characters, darker characters, I would probably do something similar to that. And like make it groups of characters instead of just like, you have to complete. Well, you know what? I don't know. Now that I think about it, it depends. I'll just put it this way. I don't mind having it like groups of characters all, contributing to one similar story, or every character having their own story. It just really depends on how they play. Because, like, for example, with Adventure 1, Big the Cat story.
Yeah. Oh
For
my God,
me,
yeah.
like, I don't mind Big the Cat as a character, at least nowadays. But at the time, I hated Big
Oh, me too.
because
Yeah.
of his story. For me, that is the worst. I don't care what anybody says. That is the worst part of Sonic Adventure, his story. I hate his whole campaign. Oh my God. So, like I said, I probably, as to make a perfect Sonic game, I probably would feel more inclined to have multiple characters just contribute to one general story. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then as for like elements from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because now that I think about it, I don't think elemental shields have been put in any modern Sonic game, have they? I don't think so.
There's an electricity shield in Sonic Adventure, but yeah, overall.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Well, maybe bring some of that back.
Yeah.
And I really got to think how to explain this because, as you can clearly tell, I am super biased towards Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I just want everything to be like that.
Oh no, I'm the same way. I hear you.
Oh my God. So, I just have to say real quick, because I know that there are a lot of people out there, and I remember I had this slight debate with somebody before that, there are a lot of people that claim that Sonic 2 is the absolute best one out of the trilogy. I just can't agree with that because to me, 3 and Knuckles, everything that Sonic 2 did right, 3 and Knuckles just said, oh, word, let's make it even better. And they did.
Yeah.
It trumps everything. I hate using that word for obvious reasons, but anyway, I'm just saying, like, it trumps everything that Sonic 2 did. So, like I said, that's part of what, when you first asked this question, that's why I said that, because it was the first game to tell a story, a concrete, like, yeah, there was no dialogue, but like, it told a story from start to finish. There were stage transitions. That would be another thing. Okay, stage transitions. Like, I love how they implemented that, and when they continue to implement that in games, to get from one zone into the next, like, that would be another thing I would put in my perfect Sonic game. A clear progression, like, okay, you ended this world, so this is how you travel to the next one. I love when they do that. But it was the first one to tell a story. It was the first one to actually give some insight on the importance of the Chaos Emeralds and Master Emerald, all of that. Yeah. So, like, overall, just, the progression of a simple story that would be another, like, a good progression, I should say, would be another, like, element of that game that I would definitely put into whatever my perfect Sonic game would be. I mean, I know that's a very simple thing to say, but again, we know that the stories aren't always the greatest with Sonic games, but again, that one, even though there was no dialogue with it, it still told a good, solid story. Like, you knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And you were engaged by it. So, that's all I can think of for right now. I'll let you start speaking. I might think of something else, but I'd love to hear what your perfect Sonic game would be.
Cool. And yeah, I would call Sonic 3 and Knuckles, if you're talking about just a 2D sprite-based platform, yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is definitely already perfection. But yeah, if we're talking about a modern 3D game, yeah, I'd say I'd kind of blend Sonic Adventure and Sonic Frontiers. I think a lot of aspects about Sonic Adventure, but with maybe not quite as big of worlds, but yes, some more open worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, within these worlds, like think of like a Station Square, but like much bigger, and you can actually like run on top of the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they still take you to action stages, which would be very similar to Sonic Adventures, and yeah, with really good level design in my ideal perfect Sonic game, and yeah, I'd probably go closer to Sonic Adventure with like story too, like branching story paths, but not 6 characters, no Big the Cat. I'd maybe keep it like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles or something along those lines. And they intersect, but I don't know, maybe not as story direct. Yeah, I'm trying to think where I want the story direction. Sonic Frontiers had a pretty good story, even if I really like the story of Sonic Frontiers, but I wish the cutscenes were a little more animated, because so many of the cutscenes were just them standing there talking. True. So, yeah, I guess closer to adventure storytelling, but yeah, more modern and less of the 1999 campy dialogue.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And because the more I think about this, especially with what you were just saying about the open world nature. I think another way I would go about like what my perfect Sonic game would be, if they did something, because like since I was mentioning how like there was some missed opportunity with Sonic Generations, like I'm now realizing I would also, and this would pretty much be for like another anniversary type of game, like I would want to revisit the idea of Generations, but make it more expansive, almost in a way, and I hate to make this comparison, but let's face it, Mario and Sonic will be compared until the end of time.
Yeah.
But I feel like in a way, go the route of Super Mario Odyssey and make it like a multiversal thing where like something happens in the game where Sonic and friends have to go like truly back to that era, not just like the white space how it was in Generations. Like they are truly going back to that world, that time, that whole universe of like 1991, of I think it was South Island where the first game took place. Yeah. And make hub worlds out of that too. Like you are exploring the entire world and area of that era or that game of Sonic.
Yeah,
if they did
really
something
cool.
like that, I think that would be such a great way to play a Sonic game as well as celebrate the series. If they do something like that, again, not holding my breath on that actually happening, but when I'm like thinking about it and picturing it, because again, like if we could actually, if we had a game like that, we could go to the original Angel Island and run around parts that looked like Angel Island Zone, Hydrocity or Hydro City, however you want to pronounce it, Carnival Night. Make hub worlds out of that, and then little levels within them too. I just think that would be really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, that reminds me of another point I was going to say. Yeah, aesthetically, like this hypothetical game I've been talking about, we definitely have more classic style, like more surreal environments. Like the cities and stuff would look Sonic Adventure-y, but like a lot of the levels, I would want stuff with more like crazy, not necessarily checkerboard, doesn't have to look like Green Hill, but like crazy patterns on walls and
exactly. Because I know for me, again with Adventure, like I guess it worked because I guess at the time, I know for me at the time, oops, I just hit my mic. I wasn't like thinking about the juxtaposition between how Sonic characters look and then the humans. But when I think about it now, it's just like, we have talking hedgehogs, talking bats, foxes. Like we don't need the surroundings to look all realistic. Like we have anthropomorphic animals. It's much better if the surroundings and the locales are all, like you said, surrealistic looking. Yeah. I feel like that works out better. Like the moment you try to make everything, because when I think back to looking at Station Square, like yes, it's iconic because of the game it's from and how that started a new era. But at the same time, like that, and then like watching Sonic X, sometimes I'm like, what? Like this whole these anthropomorphic animals in a realistic setting, not. Yeah. We don't need this. We don't really need that. Like you said, yes, the checkerboard's kind of played out, but at the same time, you see a checkerboard print, you think of Sonic because it just works. Yeah. It's overused as it is. Yeah, so I agree. The whole surreal nature, we just need more surrealistic element to environments, I feel.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
All right, well, Dan, we've been talking about Sonic for a long time now. It's been almost 2 hours.
I told you it would be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's a good time to kind of close it out. Any other last thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this chat. Really appreciate it. It was fun because, like I said, when I found your Facebook page or YouTube channel, I was like, okay, I've got another Sonic fan. It seems like we have, similar tastes within the series. So awesome. So, like I said, that's number one for a closing comment. But I guess I just would have to say, like, Sonic in general is and always will be very important to me because, again, like, one of Tetris, because I think I said earlier, like, Tetris was one of the first games I ever played because I started out on the NES. So, like, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Galaga, Pac-Man, those are the first games I had. But as far as, like, the first game series that really got me hooked on gaming, I owe that all to Sonic. Seriously, because Sonic 2 playing that for the first time on the Genesis, that truly blew my mind. And ever since then, Sonic has always been one of my absolute favorite characters, series, all of that. And Sonic, to me, Sonic is the 90s. I will always hold on to the 90s dear to my heart because that I just missed that time period of my life. So, like I said, Sonic really is Sonic is an icon. And again, for me, a very important icon. He was a huge part of my childhood. It provided so many great memories for me growing up. So yeah, Sonic is always going to have a special place in my heart, Jank included.
I hear ya. Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been really fun talking about Sonic.
Of course.
Yeah.
No problem. We got to do this again.
Yeah, definitely. I've just been like fully passionate about like all of these topics and yeah, wow. Like I said, about 2 hours. Some good chatting there.
Yes, indeed.
All right, well, thank you all for listening. Really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a hat-stacking good day.